An orange can be perfectly ripe, sweet, and still be green. In warm climates, the peel may keep its chlorophyll after the fruit is ready to eat. Some producers expose oranges to ethylene, not to ripen them, but to remove the green and give shoppers the color they expect. But the stranger fact is this: English speakers had a name for the fruit before they had a normal name for its color. So who decided that an entire part of the visible spectrum would be called orange? The obvious answer is probably some king, scientist, writer, or dictionary editor. But almost nobody decided it. The color orange was created by something far less organized: millions of people copying one another. That is how most things get their names. There is nothing naturally table-like about the sound table. The same object is Tisch in German, mesa in Spanish, and 桌子 in Mandarin. The object does not contain a hidden correct sound. A word works because a group of people treats it as if it works. Imagine that you discover a strange new fruit. You call it a bliff. At that moment, you have invented a noise, not a word. It becomes a word only if another person understands you, repeats it, and expects someone else to understand it too. Then another person copies them. Soon, nobody needs to remember who said bliff first. The sound has become a shared shortcut. Language is full of these shortcuts. They are conventions, but not conventions created in a meeting. Nobody gathered humanity around a table and voted on the word tree. The agreement emerged through repeated use, and orange is almost a perfect fossil of that process. The word began far from England. An ancestor appears in Sanskrit as naranga. It passed through Persian and Arabic, then into European languages. As speakers borrowed it, its pronunciation shifted. Somewhere along the route, the initial N disappeared. By the late 14th century, English had orange as a name for the fruit, but not yet for the color. English speakers could obviously see the color. Human eyes did not suddenly evolve in the 16th century. They described that region differently. It could be yellow-red, saffron, or citrine. Chaucer described a fox as being between yellow and red. Then the imported fruit became familiar enough to serve as a reference point. Instead of saying, "that reddish yellow," people could say, "the color of an orange." Eventually, that phrase collapsed into one word: orange. The fruit did not receive its name from the color received its name from the fruit. And that reveals something important. Names do not merely label neat boxes that already exist in the world. Sometimes they help create the boxes. Visible light changes continuously. Nature does not place a black line where yellow ends and orange begins. We do. Different languages divide that spectrum in different ways. Russian, for example, commonly separates light blue and dark blue with two basic color words. English usually places both inside the larger box called blue. In experiments, Russian speakers have been faster at distinguishing shades that cross that linguistic boundary. The words do not give them different eyes, but a practiced label can make a distinction easier for the mind to grab. A name is like a handle attached to an idea. Without the handle, the idea can still exist, but it may be harder to pick up, remember, compare, or pass to someone else. This is why new things are so often named after old things. A computer mouse borrowed its name from an animal. A computer folder borrowed its name from folded cardboard. A cloud became a place where files live. The new object arrives first, and language searches through an old toolbox for a label that feels close enough. Sometimes the label comes from resemblance, sometimes from function, sometimes from a person, place, joke, brand, or mistake. Then competition begins. Several names may exist for the same thing. Most vanish. One may survive because it is shorter, easier to pronounce, used by an influential group, printed in schools, repeated by journalists, or built into a popular product. That means naming is not always democratic. Anyone can propose a word, but not everyone has the same power to spread one. Governments decide what appears on official signs. Companies name products. Scientists create standardized terms. Publishers choose which spelling reaches millions. Conquerors have renamed cities, rivers, and regions, sometimes pushing older names out of public view. A name can preserve history. It can also bury it. But even powerful institutions do not control language completely. Consider emoji. Unicode has a formal process for deciding which symbols can enter the global technical standard. Proposals are reviewed. Evidence of widespread use is required. Each accepted symbol receives an official descriptive name. That sounds like a central authority finally deciding what something is called. But Unicode can standardize the symbol. It cannot fully control what people mean by it. A face, fruit, flame, or skull can acquire jokes, insults, flirtation, and meanings its designers never intended. The official name stays in the database, while the living meaning changes in conversation. This is the deeper rule. Authorities can declare a label, but communities decide whether it lives. Even dictionaries usually arrive after the fact. A dictionary does not make a word real by printing it. Lexicographers watch how people speak and write. They look for repeated, widespread use and a shared meaning. The dictionary is less like a lawmaker and more like a wildlife photographer. It records what has already appeared in the wild. So can one person name something? Yes, but only halfway. A scientist can coin a technical term. A child can invent slang. An author can create a fictional word. You can start calling your phone a pocket brain tomorrow. But invention is only the proposal. Adoption is the decision. And adoption happens through countless tiny moments. Someone hears the word. They understand it. They decide it is useful. They repeat it without asking permission. Each repetition is a microscopic vote. Most proposed words lose. The survivors become so familiar that they stop feeling invented. That is why names can seem inevitable. Once you have called the sky blue your entire life, blue feels like a property written into the universe. Once orange becomes a color, yellow-red sounds clumsy. The successful name hides the alternatives that disappeared. But another language, another century, or another community might divide the same reality differently. Pick up an orange, and you are holding more than a fruit. You are holding a word that traveled across continents, changed shape in different mouths, lost a letter, entered English, and then expanded to claim a piece of the rainbow. No single person planned that journey. No dictionary started it. No committee completed it. Who decides what things are called? Sometimes an inventor begins the answer. Sometimes an institution makes it official. Sometimes power forces one name above another. But most of the time, the final decision belongs to everyone who keeps repeating the word. Oranges were orange before orange was a color. And orange became a color only when enough people agreed to see the world through the same name.